is August 12th. That means that this is the final edition of the G1 CLIMAX 33 recap show here on the youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes channel or on your favorite podcast application as well. Wait, Warren, wait, there's still the finals. What are you telling me? You're not going to cover the finals? No, I'm going to cover the finals. What are you talking about? We're not going to be doing it within the confines of a G1 CLIMAX thing. We're going to do it on the Mr. Warren Hayes show proper this Tuesday evening, and when we record live at 7 p.m. on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. And if you can't catch it live, you'll have everything on demand and the audio over on your podcast. Everything will be available the next day on Wednesday. And that's where we're going to wrap up the whole thing. I'm going to give my full final thoughts, a post-mortem, some MVPs. What's the opposite of an MVP? We're going to be talking about those two. And of course, final list of my favorite matches. I've got close to 30 matches, which if you were to give a star system to, if you were to star rate, I have close to 30 matches which have 5 stars or more. And up until today, I had like one match of the year, one 5-star match. Is there another one that pops in today? Is there another one that makes it into the match of the year candidate category? Well, let's find out as we run down the card here today. Well, listen, per usual, I'm not going to break down the entire undercard. Y'all are here for the block matches, for the semifinals in this case. No more block matches, Warren. These are semifinals. However, I do want to point out that there have been a couple of angles set up today during some of the preliminary matches on the undercard. The War Dogs took out Bishamon at the end of a 10-man tag, if I'm not mistaken. Was it the 10-man tag? Well, it was the 10-man tag. There we go. It was the 10-man tag where a bunch of Chaos guys took on the Bullet Club, and Bishamon, they made a point of going after, not Bishamon, the War Dogs made a point of going after Bishamon and were posing in the ring with the IWGP tag team titles. Henare took out Eddie Kingston after Kingston's multi-man match, which he had an 8-man tag with Taguchi, Ishii, and Tanahashi taking on all of TMDK, and Henare ran in at the end to lay out Kingston. And the interesting connection here is that Henare had tweeted out previously, quote tweeted. Or quote X. Look, I can't stand the X stuff. Bear with me here, okay? I don't use the platform anymore. Just bear with me. We're gonna call them tweets or posts. Kingston posted a video of himself, basically, talking about the, his strong openweight championship, and he's taking on all comers, that kind of stuff. And Henare quote tweeted it and said, "Well, why not at Wembley?" Right? And then next thing you know, you have Henare at the show coming after Kingston and taking them out. That's usually how we establish matches here. So that's something that's interesting there that has a little wrinkle. Is it going to happen on this tour for New Japan? Or is this something that's going to pop up for the All-In show? And then the Bullet Club came out with they came out after the El Fantasmo Gorillas of Destiny match, and Tama Tonga and Dave Finlay were sort of giving each other the evil eye as Finlay raised up the never openweight title. So we had these angles happen, so in and about themselves, like I'm pretty sure a couple of these matches, at the very least, 2 of these angles here are going to set up matches for tomorrow for the finals. Maybe Tama and Dave Finlay will end up there. Maybe the War Dogs and Bishamon again, all set up for the final day of the tour and the G1 finals. But I think Henare and Eddie Kingston, while it would make a lot of sense for them to get this out of the way during the tour, just based on a tweet, and look, just pure speculation, they could bring that over for Wembley. Why not? Be very interesting. Give Eddie a big time win at in Wembley Stadium as well. But there's also rumors that Eddie is going to be involved in an angle with the Blackpool Combat Club in a 6-man tag, alongside, again, this is just a rumor, right? Alongside Orange Cassidy and someone yet to be determined. Not because they have a surprise up their sleeves, they just don't know who the 6th person might be at this point. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on all of this. We'll see what happens. But as it stands for now, these are the little angles that came out on today's show. Again, probably more than likely just to add a little more drama to a couple of matches tomorrow, a few championship matches. But let's get to the playoffs, the semifinal. First semifinal we're going to talk about is Kazuchika Okada defeating Evil. Now, of course, Evil attacks before the bell, and there is lots of interference, not unlike 2 nights ago on Thursday against Sonata. And, as opposed to the Sonata match, which I absolutely hated and thought it was boring, I thought this one worked. But I think it also had to do a lot with the person who was on the receiving end of this offense. Okada has pretty much everything that Sonata is lacking at this point. Not only as a world champion, but as an overall babyface as well. Okada has the explosiveness. He has the connection with the audience. He has the charisma. Of course, he's the top guy. He's numero uno. But I think this is what makes an Evil match like this, laden with House of Torture. I was going to say House of Future for some reason. House of Torture interference. I think this is what. Because look, even Yujiro and Sho got involved here. We were on rinse and repeat from the Sonata match, which again, look, it all made sense when you think about it, because I was getting worked up because I saw what happened in the Sonata match and I hated it and I didn't want it to happen again. So now it started happening again and it pissed me off. It got me mad. So, if anything, it's working. And the good part is that the babyface, when he mounted his comeback against the villains, it was believable. You got into it because Okada knows how to make this work. Okada understands. And it's not building your babyface comeback with skull ends, fucking dragon sleepers, is not just going to put the dragon to sleep here. Because look, like I said, there's a whole slew of interference and ref bumps in this match. Look, I even wrote it here. And another fucking ref bump. I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed as hell. Then we get, but then, shortly thereafter, Evil avoids a Rainmaker, tries a low blow. Instead, Okada hits a landslide. Evil blocks a couple of Rainmaker attempts and lands Everything is Evil. Everyone thinks we're done, but Okada kicks out. Place goes unglued. They're out of their seats. Then Okada lands Everything is Evil. Tries to cover. Did he try to cover? I don't remember, but it doesn't matter because after Cobra Flosion, Rainmaker, thank God, Okada advances. But that little final stretch there, Okada understanding his position as the babyface and that he's working against insurmountable odds. Coming through, getting the crowd into it, the crowd was into this. And I preferred this match tremendously from the night before. And if anything, if you ask me, this continues to expose the problems that Sonata has as far as his crowd connection goes and how he's able to carry himself as a champion in the ring. Okada, not even a champion. Yes, it's the finals. It's an important match. The semifinals, it's an important match nonetheless. But he's able to dig deep and overcome these obstacles and get the crowd behind him. Sanada did his best, ultimately wasn't able, but the crowd was not half as into it as they were with this. Not even remotely close. Because Sanada doesn't have that crowd connection. He gets the crowd connection when he does the ear point. Hey, cheer for me, guys. Come on. Now is the time that you have to cheer for me. I shouldn't have to do it, but let's do it. Just a tremendous comeback. Fun story. Look, I'm not going to go nuts on the match. Probably won't make my list of excellent matches from the G1, but at the very least, at bottom dollar, I enjoyed this more than Sanada versus Evil. I thought it worked better. There are some people who are extremely hard on Evil matches. I feel like I feel like I'm fair. Like I don't necessarily care for them. Because that's, again, like I've explained, this is not what I want out of my Japanese pro wrestling. I watch this stuff so that I can escape a lot of the tropes that annoy me in North American pro wrestling. So that's a significant thing. But I also understand what Evil is for. I understand. I defended him as well. A few nights ago, I was saying, look, were you into Bullet Club? Were you into Suzuki-gun? Because this is essentially just a spiritual successor. And we only had to deal with Evil being the conniving, interference-laden heel throughout the entire tournament because Yujiro wasn't in it. Dick Togo wasn't in it. Don't see why Dick Togo would be in it, but It's not unlike in the Best of Super Juniors where Sho was the only guy there too. So it gives you a breather. Of course, we have to deal with Kenta, but that's a whole other story. But this is what they're for. And they're continuing. They're the spiritual successor to the OG Bullet Club, really. And, you can throw in Suzuki-gun in there as well, if you want. But that's what they're for. And the heat works better. The heat is actually palpable. People are doing what they need to do. They boo the heels, they get behind the baby faces, which is why I wrote an article not that long ago on Voices of Wrestling saying, hey, you know what? We should try and belt up Evil again. Give him another run at the IWGP World Championship. He did it during pandemic when everything was silent, clap crowds or absent altogether, would just serve to annoy us because everything just got really boring and tedious. I'm like, look, we got live crowds here. They're into it. They hate it. They love to hate it at the very least. Belt them up again. Anyway, good little match. And then Tetsuya Naito defeated Will Ospreay. Phenomenal, excellent match. And went down exactly how I thought it would, with Naito getting his win back over Ospreay. Just tremendous stuff. When they start stringing stuff together, it just becomes magic. We get some really great neck breaker moves at some point in the match when Naito does a turnbuckle assisted neck breaker on the apron, then gets back up and does an assisted neck breaker off the apron. Just great stuff. Onto the floor, of course. Naito digs deep in this match, pulls out Puma Blanca, does the Stardust press to the delight of the fans. The to the delight of the fans. The Ryogoku. Goes for a Frankensteiner, but Will Ospreay lands on his feet. Will does that awesome rope hung shooting star press, followed by a Liger bomb. And a tremendous cradle DDT by Naito. Swinging DDT, Valencia. This is where he goes for the Stardust press, but Will rolls out of the way. Will lands a hidden blade, but he can't cover. And it's just a fantastic match so far of guys just digging deep, pulling out the moves to get it done. A great series of hook kicks by Will Ospreay follow. Does the Os Cutter. Naito kicks out. Does the Leap of Faith. Naito kicks out. And Naito gets lifted up into the Stormbreaker because there's only 2 moves left at this point that Ospreay can do. The Tiger Driver, what does he call it? The Storm Driver 93 or the Tiger Driver 91? And the Stormbreaker, well, he lifts him up into a Stormbreaker and Naito reverses out of it with a Rana, if you want to believe that shit. Naito tries to counter in and out of stuff. And then the most remarkable thing happens. And I don't know exactly. I think it's when Naito gets a kick. He gets kicked in the face at some point towards the end. And he's trying to string things together. And he's tumbling. He's fallen over. And we're going, oh, what a fantastic attrition seller, right? The exhaustion. What a fantastic seller. But then you have Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay gets his hands on him, right? And he starts lifting him up. You can hear Ospreay suddenly calling moves here. You can hear the audibles calling out of his mouth, calling out all the spots. After that kick is done, Naito-san, hidden blade. Come on. Naito, you can do it. You can hear him say it. We do it together. One more move, Destino. And then they do that spot with the Destino that doesn't land, and then they do it again, and you hear Ospreay just go, Destino. You hear him. And that one Destino that Naito does after Ospreay calls it, Ospreay is literally doing the move for him. He's lifting him up. You can see it. He's literally lifting him up because he wants this fucking match to end proper. And you know Naito does too. But he definitely got his bell rung here. But look at Will, and this was not Will Ospreay being bitchy. This was Will Ospreay encouraging. This was Will Ospreay going, come on, man, we can do this. Let's go. Naito-san, get it together. We got this. And if anything, and I know people hate this, I know people absolutely loathe a kayfabe. But if anything, that final segment put it over the top for me. When I was looking at a fantastic, a great, excellent match already, it just confirmed it, put it over the top. In my mind, I was attached to this. It got me feeling. I was like, look at these guys. Look at these absolute warriors working together to get this extraordinary match off. And then they go to the finish where Ospreay does, one of these quick Destinos. Then, the one that Ospreay helps lift them up, if I'm not mistaken. I could be confused. There were a few. There were a few. But then finally, you have the proper Destino to put Will Ospreay away. And I could not have thought that this was any better, but it was. It made it better. And this is just the happenstance of pro wrestling. It's the organic aspects of pro wrestling that just end up making things better. Now, we're already good, we're already great, but now it's excellent. Now it's even better. Now, this is one of the reasons why I get so annoyed sometimes at WWE specifically, because everything is so planned out and synthetic and inorganic that when accidents happen, everything falls apart. You have to, you have people who don't know how to react. You have to, take the time to patch someone up because they got busted open hard way. And that slows down the match, slows down whatever's happening. What an absolute fucking pro are these two guys. And Will Ospreay taking control of the match, knowing what needs to be done. I cannot put this match over enough. Match of the year for me. Candidate at the very least. Probably my favorite match of the tournament. I could not believe it. Hopefully Naito's okay. Because, the path now moving forward is pretty clear. Naito's getting his Dome main event, and he's taking the title off of whoever's going to have it. And you can see just with how fucking popular this guy is. Who cares if Sonata's in the main event at this point? You got Naito in there, and the story is Naito winning the belt in the Dome. You know what? In all likelihood, right now, since the only person who's pinned Sonata is Evil during this tournament, and in Japan, these things are significant. When you pin the champion, you normally get a shot. This is not always the case. Remember, Toru Yano still hasn't had a shot against Kenny Omega yet. But that's still the thing. Sonata swept his block. Only loss in the quarters against Evil. So normally, Evil should be next in line for a shot. Now, if we get Sonata versus Evil at Destruction in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be a little sad. But it's also it will also be clear that Sonata's going to hang on to the title. Unless they start getting cute. Not unlike, the Ibushi Jay White briefcase nonsense, right? Which ultimately ended up not making sense. Because Jay White wanted to take the briefcase away from G1 winner Kota Ibushi. So they had a match with the briefcase on the line, and Jay White won it to get his spot at Wrestle Kingdom in the main event. But it was a 2-night Wrestle Kingdom, so Ibushi had a main event nonetheless. He had a main event title shot nonetheless. So everyone was just shrugging and was like, well, what is this? What is this nonsense? So unless they get cute, and if we follow typical New Japan patterns, Sonata's going to defend at Destruction, and normally he should retain. Unless they do, again, like I said, something cute, something out of the ordinary. I still think it's fucking risky. I would not put Sonata in the main event. I don't think he's done it for the company. I think today was one of the biggest attendances, right? Of the entire G1, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have the numbers right under my nose here. Sorry about that, folks. But it was like 6,000 over. Yeah, 6,579 for today, which is the biggest number of the entire G1. Who was in the main event? Wasn't Sonata. Sonata was in the main event of the August 10 G1. Day 17, 2,790. This is more than double. Ryogoku was excited for Will Ospreay, Tetsuya Naito, Evil, and Okada. Fantastic. So this all goes to my point, though, that I don't know if Sanada is a guy who can draw. I really don't. People can continue to try and convince me that he's a guy. Well, he is a guy, but not a guy with a capital G. He's not the guy for absolute damn sure. I can't particularly tell you that I'm excited for Sanada Naito in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom in January. I really don't. Can't particularly tell you that it's hitting me in all the right spots. I'm kind of like, a Sanada match in the main event. Sweet. Good. It's all going to, I think they said they were going to start announcing the cards tomorrow. I think Chris Charlton said they're going to start announcing the cards for the Destruction Tour tomorrow. So, we're going to have to keep an eye on all of this. But, I wouldn't be surprised that they stick with the very traditional way of doing things. I wouldn't be surprised at all. By the way, after the match, of course, Naito does his in-ring and he seems to have shaken off whatever got him. He seems okay. We're going to have to try and be mindful of Naito right up until Wrestle Kingdom, if you don't mind. But after that, we cut to the backstage area where Will Ospreay is having his comments. Well, we don't cut to the backstage. I mean, Will Ospreay is having his backstage comments while Naito is doing his thing. But I watched the video, and Ospreay basically rejects the IWGP US title and pulls out of his bag an IWGP UK title. And he says, "You guys can keep this one. That's not the one I'm defending anymore. I don't want to carry that flag. That's not what I'm about. This is the one. This is the one that I want to push forward." And I thought that was very, very interesting, especially on the cusp of a big Wembley Stadium show. So maybe, and I'm saying just maybe, this means that Will Ospreay isn't exactly done. Look, there's a couple of ways you can do this, right? Maybe Will Ospreay isn't exactly done with New Japan. Maybe this is kind of a confirmation of this. Does this mean that maybe Will Ospreay is going to hang on to this one a little more? And he's going to stick around New Japan and defend it a little more? Because basically what he was saying is like, the US title has never mattered as much. Never mattered in the hands of anyone else except me. And he runs down the list of all the champions, Kenny, Lance Archer, Jay, Tanahashi, etc. It's never mattered as much as it does with me. So now, I want a title that will matter to me kind of thing. So he goes with the UK one. So we'll see, I think it's an interesting little wrinkle. I think you can ask yourself, sure, maybe something is being set up for Wembley, but on top of that, maybe something is just being set up for maybe this is just something that will continue handling for New Japan, maybe moving forward. Maybe he'll have a looser contract that will allow him to work in more places. I don't know. Like this whole Will Ospreay contract situation now is very, very muddied. It's, there's no real tells. He's not putting guys out leaving the territory necessarily. He's still a top guy and he's introducing his new belt. Now, does the new belt mean, a new legacy? Are we retiring the US title? Is the US or is this just like a continuation, that this is a regional belt? And that we're just switching it from US to UK, but we're still keeping the lineage. Interesting little wrinkle there as well. Hopefully, this is my hope in a company that already has tons of titles. Tons of titles. Hopefully, at the very least, the US title gets retired or deactivated, whatever you want to call it, while this one's in place, so that we don't have a US title on top of that. Look, the world title, then you have the never title, then you have the tag team titles, the heavyweight tag team titles, the junior titles, then you have the junior heavyweight title, then you have the junior tag titles, you have the never title, or did I already say the never title? I'm already lost in thought. The never open weight, the never title, but the strong open weight, the strong tag team titles, the IWGP women's title, the strong women's title, the US title. That's 11 belts. Am I forgetting anyone? I don't think so. And if I am, well, that's just because there's too many for me to recall. That's a lot. You know, I'm not necessarily excited at the idea of having yet another title in this company. So, at the very least, retire the US one, or it becomes just a continuation. We maintain the lineage of the US title, and this becomes a regional belt, where maybe down the road we'll have, you know, a Kazakhstan IWGP Kazakhstan Championship. Isn't that where Bolton Oleg is from? Isn't that right? Isn't that where he's from? Yeah. Just to make sure. Yeah, he's from Kazakhstan. So, you know, why not? Get the good people of Kazakhstan into pro res. Giving them their own belt, their own shine on the world stage. Anyway, we're gonna wrap this up. Do you want a recommendation? Yeah, watch the main event. I mean, honestly, watch both of them. But if you're really, really strapped for time, the main event is like 30 minutes. Pretty sure Okada and Evil is under 20. You know, shy, maybe 17, 18 minutes. But absolutely watch the main event. It's an incredible match, and pay attention to Will calling the spot. It's just remarkably poignant stuff. So, we're going to wrap it up for today. And we're going to wrap up this year's G1 CLIMAX coverage. I hope you enjoyed it. This was the first year that I did daily coverage, and it went really well, and I really liked it. And I liked it more than doing the double days like I used to do, you know, 2 days combined into one review. You get to take a little more time to talk about things happening on the show. I don't know, I just liked it as much. I liked it more, is what I'm trying to say. I liked it more than what I did last year. So maybe this is a formula we'll bring back again next year, because this was a blast, and I hope you all, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, enjoyed it as well. If you did, consider one more time a like or a subscription or a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify. Again, all of this stuff happens. So we will be returning to our regular programming, which is the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, being recorded 7 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday. The AEW Dynamite reviews up on Thursdays, and the AEW Collision reviews up on Sundays, which means tomorrow. So wherever you decide to come back and join me, I'll see you next time.